And over the last 2 decades, South Africa's management profile has changed from largely middle-aged and elderly white males to a high quotient of young, highly educated men and women of all races. But their effectiveness is often hampered by aging saboteurs. Now, global research shows that managers and leaders are getting younger, mainly driven by better education and rapid changes caused by technology. And now to discuss this new phenomenon, we are now joined here in the studio by Lisa van Veek, and she is a managing director of 2 major skills training organizations here in South Africa. Morning to you, Lisa, and thanks once again for joining us on 180 Degrees. Now, you are a manager of 2 skills training organizations, and at a young age. What has been your personal experience in this regard then?
Well, I think I've sort of seen personal experience myself from when I was working in the corporate world. But where we've had most of the feedback is because we're running management training courses all the time, we're hearing from people out there, and we're continuously getting the message that the younger managers, one of their biggest challenges is dealing with the older people in their team who are very often essentially making things extremely difficult for the new managers. And the unfortunate part of this is that very often the older people, their worst fears are that they're going to, with this new manager, young manager now coming in, their worst fears are that they're going to be sidelined, that they may be asked to do early retirement. And the sad part of it is when they start blocking the younger manager, it ends up almost being a self-fulfilling prophecy. And
is this why now you are calling them the so-called aging saboteurs?
Yes, because they're setting out to really sabotage the younger manager's success, and in the process they very often end up sabotaging themselves.
But when you are dealing with your skills training, particularly in this field, are you now dealing just with the younger manager on how to deal with this situation, or do you also take into account the manager that is on the way out, the old manager?
I think it depends on the program. A lot of our programs are designed around new managers, and they tend to more frequently be younger. So those programs particularly focus on when you've got somebody like this in your team that is making things difficult for everybody, how do you deal with it? And I think what we've seen is that very often it's a case of trying to assist the older person to still feel valuable. I think very often they're feeling threatened, and they're also resisting change a lot of the time, and change is something that is quite scary for everybody. So bringing in place change management strategies is a good
And
solution.
Would you say that this phenomena is only restricted to South Africa, or is it really global in nature?
I think it is global, but I do think that we have a bit of a unique situation here where there has been a push to bring in managers from different races, and through affirmative action that in the past there was a lot of protection of white older males in those positions, and now it's available to everyone. And so we've gone through a stage of getting a lot of new people in.
But we can appreciate that it's quite a tricky situation, because you have this young manager who is young, techno-savvy, and possibly better educated, but you have this older manager who is also has amassed a lot of experience over the years. What would you say then is the prerequisite for a successful manager? Is it just the education? Is it just the experience, or probably a combination of both?
It needs to be a combination of both, and the way in which a new manager can best succeed is by acknowledging the experience of the older person, and putting them on possibly projects that offer new challenges to them, and also using them as a coach for everybody else within the team. And then you can really get close to getting some kind of team excellence.
Yeah. And what would you say is the profile of South Africa's young manager?
I think that really they come in all shapes, sizes, ages, colors. So I don't think that, which I think is great. I think it's shown quite a change from where we were. It used to be very white, used to be very male. Now we're seeing on our courses there's a pretty even split between male and female, and we're getting managers coming from all race groups.
Yeah. And what would you say are the main complaints that you hear coming from these new and upcoming young managers?
Well, I think it's not so much a complaint, but just a cries for help as to, you know, they've got this situation, they're really struggling with it. What is the best way of managing it?
Yeah, and if we are going to project into the future, then what would you say is the trend that we are likely to face in the next 20 years, for instance? But just before you answer, we have to say goodbye to our South African viewers on SABC2, and for the rest of our viewers, we continue on SABC News International. Yes, Lisa.
I think that we're going to continue to see younger people taking on management roles, and I think that there's also such a fast change in technology that's happening at the moment, and that's not likely to stop. Yes. So I think that unless
legal problem.